please join me in welcoming Mayor Jim Kenney.
Sorry about the bar. I would vote to keep it open if I had a vote, but I don't want you angry at me.
Well, before we get started, we have a list of some questions here. Is there anything that you would like to say before we get started?
No, get started.
Want to just get right into it? Okay. So our first question that we have for you, Mayor, is how do you see YPN playing a role in helping your administration be successful?
Well, I think, first of all, the fact that people choose to work and live in Philadelphia amongst your age cohort is extremely important. The city will grow and get better because of two words, immigration and innovation. And you represent both the immigration and the innovation parts of that. And the city is an old city, sometimes with old ideas that we're trying to overcome, and that the attitudes and things that people of your age bring and capabilities bring to our city is something we can't even quantify the value of it. So it really is important, and we need to keep on expanding the opportunities for people in the city. Fifth largest city in America with the largest poverty rate in America at 26%, and that's embarrassing. And we're committed to changing that narrative, and you can help us do that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those efforts. Of course, we are the Young Professionals Network of the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. And another one of your initiatives that we're very interested in, because it definitely affects our quality of life, is your stance on creating a universal pre-K program in Philadelphia. And as the daughter of someone who owns a pre-K program in Philadelphia, I'm also personally interested in this. But when did you first come up with the plan that has driven your mission as mayor?
Well, I did, obviously, excuse me, it's a little, my allergies have been just horrible, so I apologize for the occasional coughing.
We
you're
feel
gonna
you,
hear.
it's okay.
It's all. Anyway, I obviously did invent pre-K, and we're talking about quality pre-K. Universal is important, but quality is more important. We have a star rating in Pennsylvania, 0 through 4 stars. The 3 and 4 star pre-Ks get subsidy from the state. Our two-pronged mission is to expand those quality pre-K seats, hopefully to about 10,000 children in our city. And the second part is to use kind of the back of the house bureaucratic help that 1 and 2 star pre-Ks need to get to 3 and 4. So it's almost a double-edged effort. It's important to deliver these services in quality settings in neighborhoods. That's why some of the suggestions, having the school district do it or have these large pre-Ks do it, is not something we're looking to do. Many of our pre-Ks are owned by African-American women in our city, people of color, and those are solid businesses that employ people. We need to give them the opportunity to expand their businesses, to have people go into early childhood education as a profession, therefore being gainfully employed, in raising the standards of our kids at 3 and 4 years of age. If they don't have quality pre-K, they won't be prepared for kindergarten, they won't be prepared for first grade, they won't be socialized in a classroom, they won't know their numbers, their letters, their colors. They're just not ready. And then we'll spend our days and our teachers' days trying to drag these kids forward in a system that's underfunded by the Commonwealth, in a system that is resource strained. And by 3rd grade, if you're not reading at grade level, the odds are by 7th and 8th, because you're so embarrassed you can't read, that you're acting up and acting out. And by 9th and 10th grade, you're gone. And if you're gone, the options are very minimal. The corner, the jail cell, or the cemetery, in an unfulfilled life. We have about 7,500 people any given day up on our county prison system on State Road in our 5 facilities. Does not count state prison, just our county prison. 60% plus of those folks up there can't make bail. They haven't been before a judge, some of them. They just got arrested, can't make bail, and get stuck sitting up there for 60, 90 days waiting to see a judge at $130 a day. I mean, this is a crazy system of mass incarceration, of people not being able to work as a result of things that they may have done when they were 18, 19, 20 years old, and now they're 30, 32, and have stayed out of trouble since and can't get a job because they have a criminal record. There's a whole myriad of things that we've done wrong in the war on drugs, in mass incarceration, in giving people criminal records for minor things. I mean, the criminalization of the possession of marijuana that we did had very little to do with the marijuana, had to do with the lack of getting some stoners out there. But the odds are, though, that you weren't going to be arrested if you were a white male or a white female in Philadelphia as it relates to the possession of marijuana. 83% of our arrests were African-American males and Latino males for the most part. And so I mean, look, I don't know if there's a person in this room that hasn't done it, including me. And if you didn't get caught, you were lucky. But if you have a criminal record, you're not going to get a job. And if you don't have a job, you're going to hustle. And if you're going to hustle, you're going to do increasingly more stupid and bad things. And you got to get that stigma away from people. We are moving a bill through council now to make civil citations out of disorderly conduct, public drunkenness, public urination, failure to disperse. They all were arrestable offenses. I mean, now you just give them a citation and they'll pay it or they won't pay it, but they won't have a criminal record. And that's the most important thing. And I know I've gotten far afield from pre-K to criminal records.
No, it all connects.
It all connects. That's the problem. It all connects. And if you live in a neighborhood that hasn't seen any hopeful sign in generations, you don't know what hope is. And if you don't know what hope is, you don't have respect for yourself or others because there's nothing that you're living for. We have to change that. And even though you look around the city and there are tower crane after tower crane after tower crane popping up, and we applaud that, it's wonderful, unless that wealth, unless that improvement is getting to neighborhoods that haven't seen it in generations, we're never going to spin our way out of this thing. It's never going to work.
Well, thank you. And this is what Unplugged with the mayor is all about, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure I'll get myself in trouble before the through.
No, we appreciate your honesty. It's great. So you just listed a bunch of things that you really care about, several initiatives that you have, but was there any single thing or single experience that made you ultimately want to run for public office and then for mayor? I
think it was first, we started with my parents. My father was a firefighter, so he was a public servant. My mother worked, as a homemaker, but also worked 2 or 3 jobs at any given time, as my dad did work 2 or 3 other jobs at any given time. So I kind of learned from them a work ethic. I mean, you did not lay in bed after 9 o'clock in the summer or on the weekends in my house. My best alarm clock was my mother. And you had to get up. I served papers, had an Inquirer route in the morning, which was terrible. I hated that job. I hated it. Because you had to get up in the winter when it was dark and cold, and you had to go around on Fridays and Saturdays and collect the money from people who were ducking you. It was just a terrible job. And then I worked in a restaurant as a dishwasher, and a busboy, bartender, worked in a hospital. I mean, so you always had a job. You always had to be doing something. But the other thing my parents did for me, which I think is really phenomenal and very, very fortunate. I grew up in a neighborhood, which is a wonderful neighborhood, and people in the neighborhood are wonderful people. But the N-word was a common word, but not in our house. And my parents, not here, not for my kids, you're not putting that in their heads, you're not doing that. And I think as time went on, it became like a family joke amongst their relatives, our relatives and friends. You can't say that here. And my mother would say, yeah, no, you're right, you can't say that here, you finally learned. I think that took away that learned prejudice and learned ignorance that a lot of kids are forced to bear and listen to, and that helped. And then I went to St. Joe's Prep. I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to Bishop Newman, where all my friends were going, and my parents said, try it for a year. If you don't like it, you can leave, but try it. And I did, and I loved it. And then the Jesuits got me, and they got into your system this person for others. They called it a man for others in the 70s, but we have to upgrade it to a person for others. And they really taught you that no matter how successful you were, no matter how much you earned, no matter how much you possessed, no matter how famous you were, unless you were actually helping people change their lives for the better, you would never experience happiness. It's something that when you see somebody's life turn around, and that's why while I was in city council, I always would, at least once a week, twice a week, try to find that case, that person that you could actually see a result from. And I think more and more you do it, the more and more you get psyched by it, and the more and more you want to do it. And that's what I think what put me in the public life and keeps me in public life.
That's wonderful to hear. That's very interesting. It does start very young.
And kids will absorb adult ignorance. They will absorb it, and they don't know how to process it yet. It's what they're hearing from people they look up to. It's people that they love, and what's coming out of that mouth is what they sponge in. And it's really important that you don't transfer your prejudice and ignorance to your kid or to any kids.
Absolutely. And speaking of great role models, who have been your mentors in your career or in life?
Well, clearly my parents and every Jesuit I ever met. Everyone, even those who left the order. Sister Mary Scullion has helped me kind of modify or moderate my views on poverty and homelessness. There was a woman who served in council for a long, long time. Her name was Augusta Clark, who we sat on either side of the room. And when I got to council, I was 32 years old in 1992, and I knew everything, and I had a solution to every problem, and I just had it was going to be easy. And I would say things sometimes, and she would look at me at the other side of the room, and she'd go. And at the end of the session, I would get up and go over, and she said, I know what you wanted to say, and I know what you mean, but this is how you can say it better. And if you're open-minded and you listen to people, you learn to, because when you're an at-large member, you represent the whole city, and every neighborhood has a different experience when it comes to government, policing, crime. I mean, there's shared experiences, but there's differences, there's nuances. I mean, when I was a kid in the 60s, every cop in Philadelphia looked like me. White, Irish, ethnic, and they were basically kind of occupying the neighborhood. I mean, it was not a good time. I mean, and somebody would crack you as quick as looking at you. I mean, even in our neighborhood where it was all white, I mean, if you talk a cop, you got smacked, and your parents wouldn't complain because they knew you got smacked. I mean, it was that. So, but when you look at neighborhoods' experience with policing and things like that, you have to take that into consideration that folks felt occupied for a long period of time, and then women came on the force, and it became more diverse, and we still have a problem with diverse recruiting, and that's one of the reasons why Commissioner Ross has decided to remove the 60 credit requirement for anyone over the age of 22. Keep it for those who are 19 to 22, with the understanding that couple things. Number one, it's obviously, I don't have to tell anybody in this room, it's very expensive to go to college, and people are paying off lots of loans. Number one. Number two, when you're 19 and 20, 21, you may not have many life experiences that you do when you're 20 to 27 or 28. So giving them, and then when you go through the academy, you graduate with 60 or 30 certified credits, so you're halfway to an associate degree anyway. So, and then we offer educational opportunities for police officers that can continue their education. So we think that we'll do a better job in recruiting a more diverse police force, which is what we need to do, without a doubt. And it was a big deal when the first women cadets came out of the police academy. It was huge, and they faced a lot of prejudice and a lot of male anger and testosterone, and people were angry that they were on the force. But there's always these changes that when you look back 25, 30, 40 years later, they seem natural.
Thank you. So switching to, you're now mayor. The last time you spoke to YPN, it was one of the very many candidate forums.
90 of them.
Thank you again for joining us for that.
90, I swear to God, 90
Yes.
of them. It's just ridiculous.
It was a lot.
It's like, okay.
We cherished your time.
It was fun here, though. It was a good one here.
But what is the best advice that you have been given since becoming mayor, and who gave it to you?
It was an old guy down 2nd Street said to me, "Hey, don't let your head get too big. It won't fit out the door." That's
great advice.
That's the way they talk in my neighborhood. It's just like that kind of. I remember. Do you know Babe? Ever hear the name Babe Heffron? He was one of the guys from the Band of Brothers, that movie series. He was one of the Philly guys. It was Wild Bill Guarnier and Babe Heffron. They were both from South Philly. And he said to me one time, he said, after I got elected, he said, "Kenney," he said, "there's no amount of money that's worth your reputation." It's like, whoa, okay. Won't forget that one. It's like, but these folks were hardworking blue-collar people who had a a bit of wisdom about themselves anyway, but that one about the big head was important.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it's a good.
Okay.
You can't. I think what happens to elected officials sometimes is they get so taken with the office and so taken with people just like serving them and waiting on them and bound. I mean, the biggest problem I have to get used to. I'm still not used to it. Is my police detail. I mean, they're wonderful people. They're all wonderful people. They all have great personalities. I'm not used to people like driving me around. I'm not used to and I've told them. I said I could open my own car door. The only luggage a Philadelphia police officer carries is their own, not mine. We wait in line. You know, if I go to a viewing, like an Irish, you know what it is, a wake. You get in line. You don't break that line because especially in your old neighborhood, those ladies will grab you by the ear and like, where are you going? So you try not to get too full of yourself. This whole honorable thing, the honorable, it's like, stop. It's like, just call me Jim. I'll be fine.
All right, Jim.
I'm sorry about the coughing.
Oh, good. And then this is our final question before we turn it over to some audience Q&A. What advice do you have for young professionals trying to make a difference in civic and political life?
Well, first of all, I think you need to find what motivates you and what excites you about either a charity or an effort or something you want to really change. And then get involved with people and volunteer and work hard at anything people ask you to do within that organization. A lot of times you see people who go in and volunteer for something and, well, I'm not carrying boxes. I don't do filing and I don't pick up lunch. Not me. If you go in and do whatever the team needs to get stuff done, you then generate this kind of this teamwork and respect that then makes your responsibilities grow. I tell these young people to get like volunteering for the Democratic National Convention and things like that. Whatever they ask you to do, just do it. Just do it with gusto and do it with get it done and don't complain and just be part of the team. And I will say this because hopefully men won't get mad at me, but a lot of the appointments that we made that we wanted to make were women, because I sense there's a different level of kind of teamwork and empathy that women possess that sometimes men don't know.
There is.
I mean, men are worried about titles and where their office is going to be and stuff. I mean, and I think women, when you have them in an organization, they just want to get stuff done. And I find that's really a terrific trait.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your very honest answers to these questions. And at this time, we're going to open it up to Q&A, and Malcolm here is going to be our mic runner, and if you get out of line, he's going to yank the mic away from you. So please raise your hand if you'd like the mic.
I just wanted to start by saying I think the Chamber's the best thing out there. I'm honored to be here. I mean, I've been able to see you like 5 times in 3 months. Sorry. So with the sugar tax and the soda tax that's going on.
Sugar sweetened beverage tax. It's not a sugar tax. It's not a grocery tax. It's a sugar sweetened beverage tax.
And I know it's going for pre-K, right?
It's going for, well, I'll tell you what, it's going for pre-K, community schools, which provide services within the school base, and it's going to provide $600 million in city borrowing and leveraged dollars to repair and refurbish every rec center, library, and public park in the city. Some of which some rec centers are 80 years old, 90 years old, have not seen a comprehensive makeover in 40 years. So if you expect people to go in and recreate kids and volunteer and have places that kids can be proud of in their neighborhood, we need to do this.
And I get that that's why we're doing the soda tax, but I was wondering if you could...
Sugar sweetened beverage.
I was wondering if you could... Sugar sweetened beverage tax.
Thank you.
But I was wondering if you could take a different approach on it as you address who you need to address, because the Chamber had the Chief Investment Officer of BlackRock speak, and I had the privilege of being in an exclusive room with him. And he talked about the only way to grow our economy is through more people and more working hours.
Right.
Well, sugar supposedly is the leading cause of like obesity and cancer and all these health problems are keeping people from working, keeping them from having productive things.
The largest single acquired disease in the African American community is diabetes. And that's where they advertise.
So why can't we take that and talk more about the negative side of this sugar tax versus it helping people?
Because that was done before and it failed. There's a certain element of human nature that doesn't want people to tell them what they can eat, smoke, or drink. And that's called the nanny state thing. And that's why Bloomberg wasn't successful in New York. When Mayor Nutter tried to do this twice, he made it wholly a health issue. I don't deny the health benefits. They are legendary health benefits. I mean, liquid sugar is 100% absorbed. When I had like people like Ed Rendell, why don't you tax donuts? Because you don't absorb all of that. But anything in a Mountain Dew with 49 grams of sugar, every 49 grams of that is going in your system. The reason we didn't tout the health benefits is because we saw the mistakes that were made the last time. And people don't mind paying taxes if you tie it to specific initiatives that they care about. And pre-K is, I mean, universally, in every neighborhood in the city, polls out the roof, right? Community schools, polls, parks, people love their recreation centers and libraries. So they're saying, if you're like, well, I don't want to necessarily pay this tax, but if it's going for this, that's fine. The other element of the thing that you need to understand is we're not taxing thirst, we're taxing sugar-sweetened beverages. So if you don't want to buy that, everything, trust me, everything in the Wawa container, everything in the Wawa refrigerator or the 7-Eleven refrigerator, everything is made by Coke, Pepsi, and Canada Dry, including the water. They bottle it. If you don't want to buy a sugar-sweetened beverage because they passed on 2 cents or whatever they pass on, 3 cents, you don't buy it, but you have other choices, and none of that is taxed. People have said, well, why don't you raise real estate taxes? Well, we did that 4 out of 5 years, and I will tell you that the state legislature is not going to have an epiphany between now and the next 2 years, and Governor Wolf, I don't think, is going to get much further in negotiating with them than he has. We're going to be up against it again in the public schools, and we're, despite the Commonwealth's, this is what people forget, the Commonwealth's constitutional responsibility is to fund education. And they created the SRC 12, 13 years ago because they were going to give legislators a level of comfort that the money being spent in the abyss of Philadelphia was going to be spent better because there were oversight. We lost $1 billion in that period. I mean, $1 billion. Corbett, I believe, had a conspiracy to defund public education so that it failed. See, it can't work. Look, we got to get rid of it and turn it over to the for-profit charters. And I think that was what his goal was, and he got booted out of office. So the reason why we're going with the sugar-sweetened beverage, it's a targeted tax, even with, we baked in a 55% drop-off in consumption, which is ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. If it drops off 10 to 12%, I'll be shocked. 55% reduction in use, we still raise $95 million a year. Still. And the Teamsters were yelling, we're going to be at 2,000 jobs. Well, if you're driving the truck to the Wawa and you're driving 10 less pallets of sugar-sweetened beverage and 10 more pallets of Coke Zero or water or Diet Snapple, you're still driving it, and it's still going to the same store. So we felt that it was the less regressive tax because it was a choice. And you have to remember that these soda companies, I mean, if you look at their balance sheets, and bravo, I'll salute Don Corleone as they say. Bravo, I'm happy you're making money, I really am. But you've been advertising in poor neighborhoods for generations. 10 times more than in any other neighborhood. And these kids are getting fat and sick. These kids are getting fat and sick. And all we're saying is, let us tax it, leave some of the money in the neighborhood, let me improve their educational outcomes, let me improve their health outcomes, and let me improve their recreation and library opportunities. I don't see the downside of it, other than the precedent of the 5th largest city in America doing it. That's I'm telling you, what scares them is that. It's not the money they're going to lose, because I don't think they're going to lose anything. But it's the precedent of this going like wildfire across the country. It's the next cigarette. I mean, Bobby Heenan, they were having a hearing, was getting really contentious. And he said, if we don't do something now, this is going to be the next tobacco settlement. 10, 15, 20 years from now, when all the studies that were hidden in the drawer at the soda companies get exposed, it'll be the next major lawsuit settlement.
Sugar-sweetened beverage tax.
By choice. Yes. It is your choice to buy it.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
My name's Natalia. I'm a Philadelphia native.
Yep.
I'm Girls High grad, UPenn grad.
Right.
I grew up in South Philly as well, in the Pennsport neighborhood.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of neighborhoods changing in South Philly, which is awesome. Like, there's a lot of cranes, as you say, going up. There's a lot of development. It's really great that Philadelphia neighborhoods are finally getting a mixed, diverse neighborhood. But what is the city going to do to make sure that people who have lived there forever
Right.
are not displaced.
Well, we've done some of those things already. The long-term owner occupant program, which Mark Squilla is your counsel. You live in South Philly still? Okay, where do you live? Okay. Mark Squilla, whose district was really experiencing a lot of the gentrification, really held out with another administration to get the LOOP program right. What the LOOP program says is that if you're a long-term resident, 10 years or more, and your space assessment after reassessment is 300%, more than 300% higher than your base assessment, you're forgiven everything over 300%. So if you bought your familial house for $50,000, renters, we haven't been able to figure out how to deal with that, and I'm a renter, so I know. I haven't figured out how to deal with that yet. But the LOOP program, the senior citizen tax freeze, the senior citizen tax rebate from the state, a lot of those have helped. And the LOOP program has really helped kind of tamp down the anger. The best neighborhood I've seen gentrify is probably west of Broad Street, south of South, Christian, Catherine in there, because Kenney Gamble and Universal Homes had enough foresight to really gobble up some properties for affordable housing to keep it affordable. So they all didn't go crazy. The worst example is Grace Ferry, where there was it was this crazed, and people were buying up properties left and right, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just there was no pace to it, there was no structure to it. But the structure in Universal Homes area was really helpful. But you see what's happening now. I mean, Kensington. I mean, I would never thought Kensington was going to go. I'm driving on Kensington Avenue, and there's a Wi-Fi coffee shop on the corner. I mean, it's you can see it, you can feel it starting to come. And I mean, you can't stop the assessments from going up, but you can try to tamp down again the problems. But the LOOP program is the best one so far.
Great, and I think that was our last question for the evening.
I'm all right to get.
He says he'll
What time
do
is it?
one more.
I'll do a couple.
It's about 7.
Just lady here.
Do you
Yeah,
want
I
to
can.
speak very loudly?
My name is Joelle Crawford, and today I'm celebrating my 1-year anniversary of moving to Philly.
Oh, wonderful, thank you.
And I'm Crawford Leadership Strategy.
From where?
I'm from New Jersey, actually.
Okay, what, south, middle, north?
Central,
Okay.
Plainfield.
Okay.
And I'm a career coach, and so I've noticed homelessness,
Right.
a lot of homelessness. And I've tried to look for career centers, because that's what I do, I want to support other people. What are your plans on maybe job readiness for folks that are looking for jobs? and prepared for that?
There's different levels of home. It's not all homeless.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it is drug and alcohol addiction. They have a place to live, and it may not be a very, it may be a substandard place to live. But a lot of people who are on the street asking for money are either drug or alcohol addicted. There are those who are mentally ill. There are veterans. I mean, it's just really a disgrace that veterans are on the street. For the most part, you don't see a lot of homeless women out there anymore, because Sister Mary and some of those organizations, at Project Home and others, have gotten people into supportive housing. Women of Hope on next to St. Augustine's. I mean, there are people who can't live on their own, but can live independently in a group, in a communal setting, with some supports. It's trying to get their homeless, mentally ill, and the addicted off the street, because you have to want to come in. I mean, this whole issue, I've gotten beyond, you can't scoop people up and just move them. It's just not, I mean, it's not constitutional. People run into federal court and stop you from doing it, and understandably so. It is problematic, however, when, you have people who are congregating in areas where tourism is happening, in restaurants, and you try to be understanding. You don't give people money on the street. I know I do it sometimes still. I just can't. Sometimes it's just like, oh man, here, I'm just like, don't let anybody see it. Just let me, and it's because it's just it hits you sometimes. It's like this is horrible, but it's really not helpful. And we're undergoing a new process now where we have what are called hotspots, where people once the construction started on the Parkway, where a lot of people were, it really concentrated closer downtown, and there's more. You see, there are not more people out there; they're more concentrated. And they had their spots where they would hang and sleep and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a place down you go on these ride-alongs with people at night, with the people from Project Home. There's an area on Delaware Avenue between Sheet Metal Hall and Comcast that goes back to the river. it's you go back there, it's like a village. I mean, it's just amazing. And they're nice people, and they're articulate. And Sammy, the guy I was with, says, would you like to come in? No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I mean, I don't know what you do. We're trying to deal with the homeless feeding, outside feeding stuff we haven't come up with a total plan yet, but we're working on it. Where we kind of bring it indoors a little bit. Bring it indoors and have some opportunities for showers and for washers and dryers and clean your clothes and talk to people and engage with social services. I mean, those kinds of things can be effective. But if you're hardcore mentally ill or drug addicted or alcohol addicted and you're on the street, there's not much we can do to force you in other than keep on talking to you and keep on reasoning with you and offering you services the best we can. I mean, I had an uncle. I had a great uncle, Jimmy, who was my grandmother's uncle. He was like great. I don't know. Anyway, he lived on Skid Row. Remember, before the convention center, there was an area where people lived in kind of, one bulb hanging, tenement rooms, and he had an alcohol problem, and he got off it. But his friends were all living there, so he never moved. So Uncle Jimmy would walk to our house in South Philly on Thanksgiving or Christmas and have dinner, and they'd pack him up some food and take him home. But there were places like that for people that were not, it wasn't the Ritz-Carlton, but it was certainly safe and secure and out of the weather. And when the convention center came, a lot of those places went away. Those low rent apartments and low rent rooms. So it's heartbreaking. I mean, they say that I've never been to San Francisco, but San Francisco is really, really difficult. Seattle has some difficult problems, and I mean, we have our problems, but I think that they're manageable, and we're going to continue to work with people to get them in. Anyone?
Anyone else?
They want the bar open. That's
Right back there. Kevin Brown, stand up. Can't see you.
Hi, thanks, Tina. Kevin Brown, live in Graduate Hospital. I'm interested to know, in your leadership style, going from city council to mayor, what's it like now working with your former colleagues? How's it going? What are the challenges?
Yeah.
How are you adapting? Because to me, it seems almost perhaps more important than your policies is how to navigate that complexity.
That's a good question. And look, I was there for almost 24 years, so I really know them all for the most part. They're independently elected officials. They have what they want to be is every politician wants to be two things: loved and relevant. And you help people be relevant, they will help you. And I've always likened being a good mayor to a sports analogy, being a really good point guard. If you're a good point guard, you know the plays, you call the plays, you know all the players on your team, and you know their skills and strengths, and you dish the ball, and you run the plays that make the team look good so that the team wins. If you're a singles tennis player style, and you're playing center court at Wimbledon by yourself, and you're wonderful, it's great, but nobody really cares because you're not part of the team. You need to listen to what they have to say, try to help them accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish, and get some credit in the bank, or some goodwill credit, so that when you need to do a difficult thing like a sugar-sweetened beverage tax or some issue, relative to something that's really controversial, at least you have some skin in the game with them. You have some credibility with them. You're not the smartest guy in the room, I mean, I've always said I'm smart, but I'm not the smartest person in this room, nor in any room that I'm in. And if you think you are, you're not that smart. So you need to take the strengths of the people that are around you. There are some people who just won't do anything. And this the way it is, it's the way it goes. I mean, I only have 17 people to deal with. It's not like the President of the United States that's to deal with Congress and the Senate. So I have 17 personalities that you can get to know and know them. There are certain things you cannot do that they want to do, and you give them good, sound legal reasoning or finance reasoning or something like that. They have an idea, but you never discount their ideas out of hand without vetting them. You never think that's a stupid thing. I mean, it's like you don't. There's an old saying that you should live by, because it really does make sense. People will forget what you say, and people will forget what you do, but they never forget how you make them feel. And there are times, like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and I'm chilling at my little Cheers right in my neighborhood and kind of get something to eat, and you're dead tired and you had it, and then some young person comes over to you and says, "Oh my God, you're the mayor, can I get a selfie?" And you're like, and in your head you're going, "Oh my God." But in your face you got to go, "Yeah, sure, no problem." But it's important, because the thing that I've learned about being mayor, which is different than being a council, and it's got nothing to do with me personally, not Jim Kenney. The office of mayor is extremely important to people who live in the city. Unbelievably important. I think it's on an even par, maybe or a little more than the President of the United States. They don't really care who the U.S. senators are. They don't care. I mean, you're the mayor. I mean, and you're like, it's the mayor. And I'm still like, all right, it's not that big a deal. You know, it's like, no, it is. It's a big deal for people. And even if they disagree with you or they don't like you or they didn't vote for you, you're still the mayor now, and it's like, this is a big deal for them. And I can't tell you the number of times, and it's funny where I'm driving with the police in my car, and we have an SUV, and like I'll see somebody like a bus driver, or a guy driving a truck. It's like, and I'm like, wow, it's me. I mean, it's not, but it's not me. It's the office. It's the office that really makes a difference. And when you bring in people into your office or into the mayor's reception room or conversational, I mean, this is a big deal for them. I mean, I remember the first time I ever met a mayor was, and this is bizarre. This is like bizarre for me to do this now because my father was a firefighter. He got promoted to lieutenant, and there was a promotion ceremony in the mayor's reception room. It must have been 1968, 67. And I remember going into City Hall for the first time, and Rizzo was the mayor. And he was this huge mountain of an imposing figure. And my dad got sworn in. And it was like one of the greatest days. And I'm 57 years old, and I remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. And to stand in there, in that room, is like really, wow, it gets a little bit overwhelming sometimes. But people do care about that position, and they care about who's in it. And I'll tell you, I've seen John Street, who probably didn't get 2 votes in South Philly, right? White South Philly, in the Columbus Day Parade, right? He couldn't stop getting his picture taken. And I'm saying to Bob Brady, none of these people voted for him. I mean, and they're all taking pictures of mayor this and mayor that. And it's like, and Brady said to me, it's the office. It's not him, it's not you, it's the office. And it's really an interesting dynamic that's hard to get used to. And again, it's about the big head thing. You know, you don't want to buy too much into how important you are because you have to maintain your. Perfect example. I'm in BJ's Saturday before last, and I go to BJ's because I like to buy my bulk stuff. You know, all your paper products, all that stuff. I mean, I go over it like every month and a half, and I'm telling you, I have people saying to me, "What are you doing in BJ's? Shopping? Like, don't you have people do this for you?" No. If I did, you'd want to run me out of town. It's like, no, we're good. And they're like, I can't believe you're in BJ's. I said, yes, I did. But the one thing I'm afraid of, I haven't driven my car in 5 months. And Obama said this, or Mrs. Obama said it. Michelle Obama said, what are you looking forward to? She said, driving my car. Just getting in and driving my car. And they won't let me drive. I mean, so, it's weird. But it's a weird situation. So. All right. Well, invite me back anytime. Be happy to come. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Round of applause. Thank you.